I offered my boyfriend a telescope since he wanted a PS5. His fury had a tremendous backlash. After 6 months, our lives took an abrupt turn. Terry, 27M, and Nancy, 24F, dated for 3 years. It was his birthday last week. At a friend's BBQ, I got to know Terry. In fact, Terry made everyone laugh with his own jokes and anecdotes, which endeared him to the group. His friendly demeanor and captivating grin drew me in at first. That day, we talked for hours about our favorite books and our future aspirations. After we started dating, I discovered Terry was an avid gamer. He grew up playing video games. His first system was a Nintendo 64. For him, gaming was more than just a pastime. It was an opportunity to relax following a demanding workday or spend time with friends virtually. I didn't play much. I made multiple attempts, but the controller didn't feel right. I couldn't keep up with the frantic activity on screen because of my lack of dexterity. To start, I wasn't annoyed by Terry's games. That he became frightened whenever there was a new release or eventually wagered a boss that was bothering him was adorable. His PlayStation seemed to vie for my attention as we drew nearer. We spent several evenings watching films together. He was playing a game so hard that he didn't even notice the passing of time. On the weekends, I occasionally wanted to hang out with him, but he was too busy playing a multiplayer game to sit down. Over the years, it frequently served as the catalyst for minor disputes. When he showed more interest in his games than in me, I used to get upset and tell him so. He would claim that I was in charge of his free time. It was a sensitive spot in our relationship, but we always managed to work it out. About a month ago, Terry initially made mention of his desire to receive the PlayStation 5 for his birthday. Despite having a working PlayStation 4, he was often raving about its visuals and how much he wanted to play the newest titles. He showed me videos that contrasted loading speeds and graphics, getting more excited with each one. Admittedly, each time he brought it up, my heart fell. All I thought a newer, more powerful machine would mean more time spent playing video games. I could see myself spending more lonely hours on the couch while Terry buried himself in his computer game. I nodded and grinned, trying to think of a backup plan, another gift, something, anything, to avoid spoiling his party. 2 weeks before his birthday, we watched a space documentary. It was one of those days when we actually decided what to watch. Beautiful pictures of far-off galaxies and nebulae might be seen in the documentary about extraterrestrial life. Terry was spellbound. He paused the talk to look up incredible information about stars and planets on his phone and give me. It rains diamonds on a planet, or that there's a large alcohol cloud in space. He was telling me about his gaming successes with the same enthusiasm that he usually does. I had never witnessed someone so ardent about something other video games. He brought up memories of our first dates when we used to stay up late. We were talking about everything because we were curious about the world. Together, we wondered, shared, and learnt for the first time in a long time. It got me to thinking, spare him the PS5 and give him a nice telescope instead. For this new interest, it would be a wise investment, and we might use it frequently. If it costs more than the PS5, so be it. It seems like that would be unique. 2 weeks in a row, I studied telescope types in great detail. I required something suitable for providing as many features as possible for novices so that we can enhance our knowledge and skills. I did a little online course so that I could instruct people in stargazing. I envisaged us sitting on our building's roof on summer evenings, sharing a telescope and attempting to make sense of the enormous vistas of the cosmos. Terry was ecstatic to get the large, beautifully wrapped birthday present from me. Trembling. "Is that the PS5?" he kept asking. "No, the package is too big. The PS5 and a few games, perhaps?" He was ecstatic like a child on Christmas morning. His face appeared as if it had fallen in that instant after the next blow, when he removed the wrapper and saw the telescope. Though I could tell he was disappointed, he tried to disguise. His gaze revealed disappointment, excitement at first, confusion afterwards. Then a sound of frustration. "Thank you," however, he asked me if I had given him a PS5 instead. I gave my explanation for not getting him the present he wanted. Enraged, he said that I had rejected his requests, even attempting to change his interests and pastimes, and that he had been explicit about what he wanted. He became even more irate when I proposed that we do something exciting and novel together. If I had to do something with him, he said, we could use the PS5. He went on to say that he will purchase that telescope next month and that he had been saving for it. The remainder of the day was tense. Terry spent much of his time on his phone and seldom ever used the telescope, playing games on the PS5 that he was unable to play. When asked at family dinner what he got for Christmas, he hardly mentioned the telescope. Despite his mother's inquisitive glance and awareness of the subtle hints, I simply shook my head. I didn't want to disclose that to the world. A week later, the telescope is still in the corner of our living room. Terry doesn't seem to be paying attention to it and hasn't said anything. He responded to me monosyllabically this week and played the PS4 for longer than normal. He was looking at PS5's online yesterday when I noticed him, sighing and shutting the page. I'm inconsolable. Despite my kindness and encouragement of a new hobby, it seems like I spoiled his birthday. I'm disappointed that he doesn't value my thoughtful gift. It took me so long to find and prepare something we could both enjoy without staring at screens. A part of me wants to buy him the PS5 and return the telescope, but that would just encourage his pouting. He might play more, but I'm still not sure. If I do it right now, I'm afraid. By ignoring me, he sets the precedent for his desired outcome. All I could think of that night was the space documentary that we watched. Terry was vivacious and inquiring about everything, the cosmos included. Terry drew me in with his eagerness to share and learn. I figured the telescope would bring that to light. Was I wrong to try this? I would get my boyfriend a telescope, but not a gaming console, Reddit? Was it the right thing to do to encourage him to try new interests, or did I go too far in urging him to share ours? How can I get past this without losing sight of my feelings regarding his gaming habits? First update, I appreciate your reply. Even though I've read them all, this one opened my eyes. It's clear to me now that I was the jerk. Terry asked for a gift for his birthday, and I should have granted it. It hurt to read your remarks, but I made the difficult decision to be honest with Terry. We've been tiptoeing for a week, it's hard. We wanted to get this straight, therefore I was concerned about his response. I started by saying I was sorry for not listening to him and for interfering with his actions. After expressing my concerns to him over his gaming time, I understood that giving him a birthday present wouldn't be equitable. I told him that I thought we were straying. He ignored me and played too much. After I spoke, Terry was silent for several hours. The fact that he apologized surprised me. He acknowledged it, stated he was sorry for pouting, and added he ought to have dealt with the disappointment more tactfully. At last, he admitted that he felt bad about how much he had played games, but he had no idea how to stop without going insane. He was eager to play PS5 with me after realizing he hadn't been interested in gaming and we had discussed hobbies and how we could share them. Presumably, he thought we could enjoy the same pastime. I tried to convince him to play less games, but I didn't know what I was doing until she told me how I made her feel like she was rejecting a part of him all the time. Terry acknowledged having a curiosity for the telescope, but added that he didn't know where to begin or who to ask questions because there was so much that one could take. I'll give it a go this weekend. To Terry's surprise, I offered to return the telescope and accept the PS5 during the PS5. He gave it some thought and still desires a PS5, but he won't part with the telescope. It was suggested that he save for the PS5, and we keep the telescope. I was moved by this. Not much longer. I also thought about making a donation to the PS5 fund, though it wouldn't be the entire amount, it would get him there faster. Terry finds the concept appealing. We set up plans to divide our time equally. He was prepared to cut back on his gaming, particularly at home, in exchange for my becoming more interested in his games. He would begin by teaching me his favorite games, which would be the simpler ones that I could play. In return, he has joined me in my activities, which include using a telescope. We used the telescope for the first time to view the stars last night. It was unpleasant since we couldn't concentrate and it took us 20 minutes to find a single star. After we figured out how to use it, it worked flawlessly. For the first time, we could plainly see the moon and its craters. Terry thought it was great and downloaded an app to help us identify what we saw. As we packed the telescope, Terry said, "That was a fantastic gift for me since I wanted a PS5. I forgot how much fun it is to try anything fresh." That, despite its small size, meant the world to me. As though we had rejoined the same squad. This taught me how important it is to appreciate and pay attention to a partner's interests, even if they are different from mine. It never works to change someone, especially with a gift. As a result, communication is essential. It's a good thing we figured this out together. We're changing. Again, Terry's game takes up his time, but I become used to it. We were both amateur astronomers. It has a distinct feel. By being aware of and interested in one another's hobbies, we are becoming closer. Many thanks for the insights, Reddit community. You assisted me in realizing my mistake and its solution. We wish for a more radiant sky. In our bond and while observing the stars. Update 2, I'm returning to share my month-long experience and an update on everything. It's the most enjoyable activity, and Terry and I use the telescope a lot. On clear nights, we walk up nearby hills. These days, Terry adores astrophotography. He expressed his joy by joining an online community for amateur astronomers where he could share his latest photographs. When we went out, we were innocent. We might spend half the night simply searching for something interesting. Nonetheless, technologist Terry discovered a number of excellent apps for identifying celestial objects. Like a child at a candy store, he is pointing out planets and stars with great joy. That was the special day we spotted the rings of Saturn. Excited, Terry yelled, startling the couple who were enjoying a picnic a few yards away. We had a conversation with them and used our telescope to show them Saturn, and delighted in introducing others to our new passion. 2 weeks ago, Terry used the money I gave him from his savings plus an amazing online deal to purchase a PS5. The graphics are excellent, and he adored it. Terry, ironically, enjoys astronomy and gaming equally. He attributes his appreciation of screen breaks and his appreciation of the real world to the telescope. For better stargazing, we're even planning a camping trip in a dark sky reserve. Terry has been attempting to get me involved in games. We play 2 co-ops games a week, one that he found that I like better than his. I can see why he enjoys it, it's fun. I still like it better, even if I never became a gamer. We had to interrupt a cooking game last week because we were laughing so much. We also got better. Our ability to manage our time. We rehearse putting electronics aside and having conversations during device-free dinners. We now communicate better, and we've had a lot of interesting conversations. After supper yesterday night, we talked about alien life for over an hour. Surprisingly, our friends have joined. On certain nights, we even play video games before gazing through the telescope. This is known as game and gaze. It's an additional exceptional chance to mingle and engage in common interests. Terry's closest friend used to visit for video games, but these days he spends his time stargazing. He thought about getting a telescope. It's amazing to see how our social lives change outside video games. In retrospect, I recognized my initial impulses might destroy our bond. Fortunately, it helped us develop and get to know one another better. We've gotten closer by coming to respect and care about each other's interests. However, there are moments when I worry that I'm not as interested as him and that he plays too much or gets frustrated. Still, we've improved our communication and are attempting to reach a consensus. Once again, Reddit, I appreciate your advice. It enabled us to deal with the situation and come out stronger. Update 3. Hello, Reddit community. After 6 months, I wanted to offer you one last update on the telescope vs. PS5 controversy. With Terry, I feel unstoppable. Our celestial ardor exploded. We recently joined a local astronomy club and upgraded our telescope. We try to go to as many of their monthly star parties as we can because it's a terrific way to meet new people and learn about space. Terry now has far better astrophotography. An image of his Orion Nebula was published in a magazine. Gaming nowadays is a great fit in our lives. Terry's enjoyment of his PS5 has not decreased. Our standard is a co-op game night every week. We've started playing puzzle and strategy games because those are my current favorites. This balance enhances communication, leisure time, and support, which is beneficial to our interests and to each person personally. I made a greenhouse on my balcony because she even liked my gardening. After much planning, we finally went camping in a dark place. Last month's Sky Reserve. It was an amazing experience. We hiked and stargazed to discover the natural world. Terry took some amazing pictures of the Milky Way. It became evident on this outing how far removed we were from the birthday fiasco. After spending a long night stargazing by the campfire, Terry came to me one evening and said, "You know, I'm glad you got me that telescope. Had you given the PS5, we might never have found this new planet. For me, that little moment meant everything. Nothing is flawless. We are still at odds, and I believe Terry plays video games too much at times. We can now work together to address conflicts. We got into a fight the last time. We were going to a small science museum, and Terry had spent the entire Saturday behind the screen. Terry told me that after sorting things out, he had lost track of time. When he plays games for extended periods, I occasionally feel ignored. We are frequently in sync, because we have a shared calendar for our objectives and activities. How much good came out of what could have been the end of a relationship astounds me. Excellent perspective. It instilled in us the values of communication, respect, and encouragement for the passions of others. We've come to respect one another's interests in spite of our differences. Terry's mother told me he's been happy lately, and his folks were here last weekend. She believes he hasn't been this happy since they were kids. It brought our progress back to memory. I advise doing the same as everyone else in a similar circumstance. Honor both your relationship and your compromise and interests. Wherever you go, you never know who might have similar interests. Having a variety of interests is okay. Achieving a balance that benefits both parties is essential. Terry and I are excited for future gaming sessions and starry nights, and all in between. Next month, we're visiting an observatory in Arizona. Terry is thinking of entering a contest with his astrophotography. Who knows what this journey will bring? Reddit, thank you for the guidance and support. I'm appreciative of this community's assistance in solving our issue. Clear sky and exciting new experiences, please.